is up, Simlings? Welcome back to the channel, or welcome if you're new. I'm Nay, I play The Sims. Let's get into it. Today I bring you Swamp Shack. Swamp Shack, baby. Swamp Shack, baby. Swamp Shack, that's where it's at. Okay, that's enough of that. I did foretell of this build in my last video, which was the prayer house, cult house, church kind of thing, that this was going to happen after I picked up the Cat's Tails, and I was like, hey, Swamp Shack, that's a fun idea. I did recently read a romance novel that was actually set on the bayou in Mississippi, and the book itself was not amazing, but, you know, the way it described sort of the swamp was quite inspirational, and, you know, it was a whole environmental thing behind it, which I'm super excited for Eco Living coming out this week. I cannot wait. That is going to be life. I got excited at the solar panels and the shipping containers, just really, really excited. So for this shack in particular, obviously it's going to be up on a platform. Got to, you know, keep the floorboards dry so the rot doesn't get, you know, so the rot doesn't set in, and also it gives a place for all the swamp rats to hide, which is, you know, something you really, really want. Now I have two things to point out here. I set this house to being off the grid because I figured there would not be, you know, power directly to the house if you're living out in swampland. So there were some dramas, obviously, with being off the grid, that you've got to make sure that you check that the appliances and the lighting and the, well, obviously not electronics, but all the appliances you put in are set to run off the grid, otherwise you're going to have a problem. My other point of contention is to do with building the actual swamp area itself. With The Sims 3, you know, with the terrain tool, you could just build natural ponds. You can't do that with The Sims 4. It's a very complicated process, which I practiced and practiced, and it looked like absolute shite each time that I did it. But basically you use the terrain tool to create a dip, then you have to build a basement underneath, and then in build mode you use the debug cheat so that you can actually get, you know, the ponds that show up in the worlds to be available to you, and then you have to put them in the basement and then raise them up so they stick up through the part of the ground that you've lowered. And it doesn't actually look good. There's another issue that the ponds themselves can't be resized. So the pond it can, but the water is set to a certain size. So if you shrink it or enlarge it, it doesn't matter because the water is only going to be that one set size. So, like, some people, obviously the more talented simmers than myself, managed to make it work. But every time I did it, it looked terrible. So I found another way to make it work, and just, you know, you'll see as we get to it. But that was just, yeah, I learned something every time I try to build. You know, I try to do something that I've never done before, just so, you know, I can see how far I can get with my skills. And that was one where, well, I have never failed at something yet, but that is one I would almost consider a failure. But, you know, I'm going to blame EA and not myself because, you know, I didn't create that, so yeah. But moving on, for the interior, I was inspired a little bit by the whole Granite Falls. There's a lodging you can stay out there with a lot of this sort of furniture that looks like it's actually built from wood. And here we go with the lights there. That is the only candelabra that does not use electricity, which you would think they're candles. Why do they need electricity? That is just bonkers. And I've put the house up on stilts there, so that would help stop the wood rot. But here's a little story about candelabras. Years and years and years ago, we're talking like 10 to 15 years ago, probably more than that even, on The Amazing Race, there was an episode where there was a treasure hunt, and everyone was sent out to find, you know, one of the items was a candelabra. And obviously this one couple who were on the treasure hunt had never seen the word before, and, you know, the male starts, you know, he's in a panic, and he starts yelling about candelabras. What the hell is a candelabra? And my brother found that hilarious, and he recanted the story to me. And ever since, anytime someone mentions candelabras, it results in both of us yelling, candelabra, what's a candelabra? Which is awesome because we play D&D, Dungeons and Dragons, for like the two people who don't know. And, you know, probably about once a month, obviously in D&D there are a lot of candelabras. You know, you go into like castles and caves and caverns and tunnels, and candelabras everywhere. So every time the DM ends up mentioning like that there's a candelabra, it results in a shrieking chorus of all of us going, candelabra, what's a candelabra? But anyway, back to the build. I mean, you see that in the original here, so what I've got going in this build, I have resized the ponds. When I went to actually play it later, that's where I discovered the ponds are actually, you can't resize them because it looks okay in build mode, it shows up quite nice. When you go back to live mode, it all goes to hell, so I had to resize it. So the one that is saved on the gallery, which you can download for yourself, my EA tag will be in the description, that has been corrected. I've also put the fishing signs the wrong way round, so when your sim goes to fish, they're fishing in the grass. So I've swapped that. So everything else, this has been play tested. This shack does work. My cat is yelling at me. I can never get through a video without a cat interrupting. But here we go. I'm landscaping currently, just, you know, painting in some dirt. There's really nothing thrilling there, but added lots of shrubbery. We've got some ponderosa pines, got cattails, got wildflowers, got some rocks. You know, just making it look very swampy. I hope the microphone's picking up my cat yelling, because she has quite a funny meow. Added in some green ferns as well, which I thought was a little more foresty than like swampy, but you got to work with what you're given. Would have preferred some more like reedy, dead-looking, viney kind of things. Some mangroves would have been nice, but you know, they're not there, and I didn't want to use any custom content, so if you want to play this, you can just download it and use it just straight like that without having to download anything. As much as I know, like, people love custom content, like, that's usually the videos I'm drawn to as well, as the ones with, you know, use custom content. Please use, you know, please provide a custom content list, because it is super helpful. And just, yeah, I love seeing what people can do with that kind of thing as well, and yeah, I just like playing with it myself. But yeah, decoration-wise, used quite a few indoor plants, used some candles. I put a citronella candle, well, what I think is a citronella candle. I put one in the bedroom and I put one in the living room. Obviously you want to keep the mosquitoes away if you're living in a swamp shack, because there's going to be a lot of mosquitoes with all that stagnant water, and ugh, mosquitoes. I mean, they don't bother me. They don't seem to like my blood at all. I just don't like trying to sleep with them screaming around my ears, which they tend to do. They hover. They don't want to suck my blood because I taste terrible, but they want to annoy the hell out of me, so they're always there anyway. Yeah, so just a little bit more decorating. I'm starting to approach the end of the video. I think I just have a couple of rugs to put in, because I was sure the floorboards would be quite cold, so you wanted to add some kind of insulation there. So, you know, it's a horrible feeling when you get out of bed in the morning and your feet just touch cold, like hard floor, like no thanks. So, you know, I think rugs are a necessity. And yeah, I think that's about it. Oh, putting under the fireplace, I like to put stone, which in my Havisham house, in that build, I ended up updating it later and putting stone under the fireplace, because, you know, you want something that's non-flammable to go under a fireplace. You don't want wooden floorboards, because, you know, one stray ember and whoof, there goes your house. Oh yeah, there we go, there's the rugs. But yeah, so we're coming to the end. Thank you for sticking around to this point. Thank you for putting up with my terrible singing and my totally not hilarious story about candelabras that I still think is funny to this day, and I probably will find funny for the rest of my life. But yeah, I do appreciate you if you've made it to this point in the video. Maybe, you know, if you're feeling generous, give me a like, maybe leave me a comment, and, you know, subscribe. You stick around, see what other builds come up. Yeah, I've probably got some more weird stuff coming up. I do have an exam coming up in a week, so I might end up missing a day of uploads, just because beginning to stress out about that a little bit. And I had another bit of news. Oh, my new microphone has just arrived, so this is the last video with this little microphone. I will no longer have to hold a little lapel mic in my hand, so let's hope the quality of my audio goes up from my next video onwards. But anyway, thank you for sticking around. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day, and I'll see you in my next video.